Good afternoon and shalom from icy, snowy, very cold Oklahoma. So I am broadcasting again from my home office today rather than at the church studio because the roads are slick and treacherous. So, but my plan and my hope is, of course, to be able to go live from the church broadcast studio where I can share this out on multiple platforms and engage you all in conversation and just start doing some real stuff here. So that's my plan. We'll roll that out next week because next week's weather is supposed to be really nice and today's weather is not. So I want to start this out, guys, by saying thank you so much for participating in these broadcasts, for watching. And, the reason that I do these online like this and record them is so that you can watch them at your convenience, even though it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. I know a lot of you guys work, and this is just not a good time for you. So I want to make this available for everyone that wants to watch these broadcasts, and you can do this at your own personal convenience. Please, 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 guys, feel free to comment and to share this out, especially if this word blesses you, you sense in your spirit this is a right now word for now, then please feel free to comment and share it out. Tag your friends in it, those that you feel like would really benefit from this word. Because this word is for everybody, it's for whosoever will. I don't charge for these things, even though I put several hours of work into each one of my broadcasts. And I just want to get the word of the living God out there while it is yet day. The scripture says, work while it's yet day, for soon the night's coming when no one can work. And we see the night is falling right now on Russia and Ukraine. And let there be no mistake, that night is coming across the globe. That night is falling on China and Taiwan. But that night is coming across the globe, guys. You have to understand that we are approaching the spring, and this year especially is the season when kings go to war. This is the year 2022. A lot of 2022 scriptures talk about war, and we are in the midst of major spiritual warfare and spiritual battles. So, what do you do when you're at war? You gird up. You put your armor on, you grab your weapons, and you go to war. And you tell the enemy, we're not going to cower. We're not going to back down. We're not going to operate in fear because of who you are and what you're doing. As they did in Nehemiah's day, they worked with their weapon in one hand and a trowel in the other, or whatever it was that their job was. They worked and they warred. And they did it simultaneously. And that's what we've got to do in this season we're in right now. We need to work and we need to press forward and we need to do what we're called to do and be who we're called to be. And we also need to be prepared to enter into the battle and go to war. And like I said before, make no mistake, that warfare is coming. Vladimir Putin has absolutely no intention of stopping with Ukraine. Depending upon his success there, his intention is to restore the former glory of the Soviet Union. And even beyond that, war is coming to the shores of the United States this year. And whether you want to believe it or not, it's coming. In part, it's coming because we have a very weakened government. We have a very weakened heads of our government. And they're not taking the stand. This is a test case. And in this test case, Vladimir Putin and those like him are seeing that America is not standing. That makes us fair game. And whether you want to believe that or not, I don't know what to tell you. But war is coming. And we have to be ready we have to decide now, what stand are we going to take? What are we going to do? So let's work now while it's yet day, for soon the night's coming when no one will be able to work. So I want to share where I believe we are right now out of the book of Nehemiah. And guys, please, 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 please. I have friends in Ukraine and Russia. My husband and I served there doing the work of the Lord in the early 90s after the wall fell. We have friends. We have people there on the ground, some of which I've heard from and some of which I have not heard from. And yes, I am very concerned for these. Please pray for the saints, for the believers, that first of all, that they have wisdom to know whether to evacuate or to stay, that they have wisdom to know where to be and where not to be, that they have angelic hedges of protection round about them. So many of us have been in prayer all day long about what's going on in Ukraine, especially. Please, please pray. Don't for a minute think, oh, I'm safe here in whatever country on the other side of the globe that you're in. That's not going to affect me, because that's just simply not true. Yes, it will affect you. So please stand in prayer now. God can't heal the land unless his people who are called by his name, first of all, humble themselves and repent and then pray. Let's fill the bowls of intercession in the heavenlies for our brothers and sisters in Messiah, in Russia, in Ukraine, in China, in Taiwan. Let's fill the bowls in heaven. So I want to get right into this teaching today about part 3, and this is part 3 of lessons from Nehemiah. So Nehemiah chapter 3 verse 1 says, "Then Eliashib the high priest arose with his brothers the priests, and they built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and hung its doors. They consecrated the wall to the Tower of the 100 and the Tower of Hananel." So the Tower of 100 in Hebrew is Migdal Hamiyah, Migdal meaning large. And the Tower of Hananel means God has favored. So why are we so concerned about names? Names are very important. More often than not, what I see are people who have do like a cursory kind of reading over a lot of stuff in the Old Testament, and especially where it concerns names. Most of us, we talk about so and so begot so and so begot so and so begot so and so, and we just skip over that whole section. Well, let your curiosity get the better of you when you're looking at some of those things and start looking up the meaning of those Hebrew names in those things. Your mind will be blown in some of those studies, I can guarantee you. Because unlike in many Western cultures where, especially in America these days, everybody names their kids one of the popular names out there. I mean, you can look and there's seasons and trends. For a while, everybody wanted to name their girls Misty. For a season, everybody was having Jasons and Jordans and different things. If you look at the era, the time frame in which you were born, and match your name up or some of your best friends' names with a lot of other people who are born in that time frame, you will see major similarities. So, when my eldest granddaughter was born, she was named Kylie. Well, go to any given high school anywhere around the nation and see how many girls are named, how many people are named Kylie, especially girls. There's a tons of Kylies, very common name. And so that's what happens. So people are named common names without any thought to what's behind the meaning of those names. Lots of times people are named after relatives. My husband was named after ancestors. He was named after his first name was his grandfather's name. His middle name was his dad's name. So he was named after ancestors. So that happens a lot. But in Hebrew culture, names all have meanings. And so what we do is we look at this child. After the child is born, we look at the child. And for religious Jews, especially, when a boy goes through its Brit Milah, which is the circumcision ceremony at 8 days. So when a baby boy is 8 days old, it's circumcised, and that son is given a name. And so when we look at that baby, we want to look at it through the eyes of the prophetic, through the eyes of destiny. And we want to name that baby with not just what are people going to call you, but what is your destiny? And so we see in many, many, many of the names in Hebrew that there was a prophetic destiny. Lots of times children were named after circumstances, especially if somebody goes through bad set of circumstances, they may give a kid a bad name because like this is what I'm going through and I'm going to name my kid that. But let's look at, like Benjamin, for instance, is a prime example. His name means son of my right hand. And he was actually renamed by his father after his mother passed because his mother wanted to name him son of my sorrow. Well, seriously? Do you want to run around with the name, oh, you're the son of her sorrow? No. So he was renamed son of my right hand. And so we want to look at the meanings of the names. It will tell you a lot about what was going on in the lives of the parents and the destiny of those sons and daughters. Names have meaning. They really, really do. And so I find it interesting. We just finished a big gathering at our church on 2/22/22 that was very profound and I believe shifted some very major things in the heavenlies. As a matter of fact, there was a recent prophecy that was released on Charisma Magazine. I'll go ahead and share that later on the Deeper Waters page that dovetailed right into what we did Tuesday night. We are shaking things in the heavenlies, guys. We are shaking them big time. And the purpose is the harvest. That's what we're doing. We're all about the harvest. So on 2/22/22, at 2:22 in the afternoon, in labor room number 2, a baby girl was born by the name of Judah Grace Spear. She was a prayed through baby. She was a miracle baby. She was never supposed to happen, but she did indeed happen. Judah means praise. Praise goes first. Grace is the empowerment to go forth and do what you're called to do. And Spear, I mean, that was just their last name. Spear is like the pointer, the tip of the spear. And so what we have is Judah, we have the praise and the grace, the empowerment of God to walk through every situation with praise and to be the point of the spear. That's what was birthed on 2/22/22 at 2:22 in the afternoon in labor room 2. So names have meaning, guys. We have to be careful about names that we assign to people. We may think that a nickname is cute for someone, but if it doesn't speak their destiny, drop it. Okay, so let's look at the names in Nehemiah and what's going on there. In Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 1 is the beginning of the rebuilding. And the very first gate that they rebuilt was the sheep gate. So the priests who are indicative of those who are in ministry with us, and I'm not just talking about the pastor of your church, okay, and I'm going to define that in a little bit, but those who are in ministry with us rebuilt the sheep gate. The Hebrew word for sheep there is seon, and it means a flock, and it can either be of sheep or of men. So this is a group of people. We must build up those already in the body of Messiah to be able to minister to all who are coming in. Because the next gate that's going to be built up is the fish gate. And when that fish gate is opened up, we're going to be flooded and we have to be ready. Okay. And so let's look at who these priests and who these ministers are. I believe that it was started with the high priest, and I believe the high priest is symbolic of those in fivefold ministry, the major equippers, your apostles, your prophets, your pastors, your teachers, your evangelists. These are the major equippers of fivefold ministry. But there's a ton of other ministries that are listed by the servant of God, Paul, in his epistles, in his letters to the churches. There's helps, there's administrations, there's all kinds of things that people are supposed to be working in and walking in. And so these are all the ministers. So when it says the priests built the sheep gate, led by the high priest, what it's really saying there is that your apostolic leadership leading those of you who are already operating in ministry, whether you are ministering to children, whether you are ministering to the cleaning of the church, to ushering, to security, whatever ministry you're in the tech department, you're on the worship team, whatever it is that you're doing, Whether you think it's little in your eyes or big in your eyes or anywhere in between, you are in ministry. You're a sheep that has been fully equipped. You've been built up in the body of Messiah, and you're being released to go do what you're called to do and be who you're called to be. That's what this means by the priests. Okay. So if you work your food pantry every Saturday, you are in ministry. You're one of the priests. And you're expected to do more than just stand there and hand out plates of food. How about praying over people? How about prophesying into somebody's life that's there to get some of that food? Okay? Because the giftings are for all of us. Paul said, desire earnestly the best gifts. So if you operate in the ministry of helps, begin to prophesy over people you're helping. Begin to pray for them for healing. Jesus said, for everybody who follows him, heal the sick. He didn't qualify that. He didn't say, if you're in fivefold ministry, heal the sick. He said, you, all of you, heal the sick. Cast out the demons. If you find yourself in a situation where somebody's crying for help and they're saying, get me out of this situation, and I've invited all these demons in my life and I don't know what to do with them, cast them suckers out of there. You have authority. They don't have authority to stay. If the host person is saying, I want them gone, by George, you better be getting rid of them bad boys. You have power. That's what grace is. You are empowered this year to get rid of those things. And so what do we do with sheep? We have to build them up. We have to train them up. We have to raise them up. So as people come in to apostolic centers, that is our purpose, is building and training these people up. We want to get all the junk cleaned out of their lives. We want to get them all cleaned up, all cleanly shaven and all this kind of stuff, you know. We want to get all the burrs and the nasty wool and stuff off of them. We want to get them all nice and clean. And once we get them all nice and clean, we want to raise them up into who they're called to be. That's who's building the sheep gate, the priests, led by the fivefold ministry. Okay? We have to build them up. We have to consecrate them. Consecration just simply means to be made clean and set apart for the Lord. So let's get these guys cleaned up so they can be set apart for the work of service for the Lord. We have favor now to build and rebuild these towers and gates. Towers speak of watchman positioning. So, for instance, you see the one tower that is a watch tower. You see the Tower of Hananel, that is a tower of favor. It says God has favored. Okay. Tower of God has favored. Okay. So we have favor. So we have another tower, the Tower of the 100, or Migdal Hamiyah, which was named, and the original name of that, it's like nobody really knew where that came from. Some people speculate could have been the height of it. Maybe it was 100 cubits. Maybe it had 100 steps. Migdal simply means great. Okay. And Mia means 100. So, but it also could have been the number of sheep that were coming through that gate. And it's interesting because the Hebrew name Mia, which is oftentimes translated as 100, roughly means 10 groups of 10. So we're talking here about multiplications of 10. So I'm leaning towards sheep because that's what God is all about. He's about people. You know, he's not about stone steps and about heights and all that necessarily. He's about people. So we know from history this was a prominent tower that was set into the walls of Jerusalem. So when you're set on a watchtower, your job is to watch. So if you're an intercessor, if you're a prophet, prophetic intercessor, any whatever label you want to put on that, you operate in the gift of prophecy. What you want to do then is you need to be on your watchtower. You have favor right now in this season to stand watch and to look and to see not only what the enemy's up to so you can slam the gate shut before he tries to sneak in, but also to see what sheep are out there that you need to make sure they get in so they can get cleaned up, healed up, saved, delivered, and trained up. Okay? So if you are a prophetic intercessor, get on your watchtower. Get busy about Father's business. So let's talk about the 10 groups of 10. As I mentioned, God's a God of multiplication. 10 is all about kingdom order. Law first mentioned. That's where something is very first mentioned in the Bible. That's very important. So the first time we see the actual word kingdom mentioned in the Bible is in Genesis 10:10. And in the Hebrew, it literally means taking dominion. So we are called to take dominion. What dominion do we take? We take dominion over the authority that the enemy thinks he has. Yeshua purchased that dominion back for us on the cross. So let's take our dominion and shove the enemy out of our territory. Okay? That's kingdom business. Pharaoh thought he had dominion. He got 10 plagues from God to remind him who actually had dominion. 10 establishes a perfect order. God gave 10 commandments. A tithe or 10% belongs to the Lord. The words God said, that phrase God said, shows up in Genesis chapter 1 10 times. So God is setting kingdom order into place when you see the number 10. And 10 times 10, we're talking a multiplication here. Okay? 10 is also the number of decision. You have to step into the order of the king, of King Jesus, or face judgment. Israel tested God these 10 times, Numbers 14:22. Then they spent an additional 40 years in the wilderness. Don't test God 10 times because you're facing a wilderness if you do. So remember, 10 is the number of decision, but it's also a number to step into the order of the king. Interesting, a decision-making body for Jews is called a minyan, and you have to have 10 people to make up a minyan. So you need the decision-making power, the unity, the unification of 10 people to make a decision. Just like they had 10 opportunities in the wilderness to make a decision. Pharaoh had 10 opportunities, 10 plagues to make the right decision, and he made the wrong one every time. Okay? So 10 establishes perfect kingdom order. 100 is a number of multiplication. And so what we're talking about is 100-fold ministry. So what does that look like? Matthew 13:23 says, as for the seed that fell on the ground, on good, rich soil, and I'm reading out of the Passion Translation here. So seed fell on good, rich soil. It represents the hearts of people who hear and fully embrace the message of heaven's kingdom realm. Hear that? Fully embrace the message of heaven's kingdom realm. That's 10. Their lives bear good fruit. Some yield a harvest of 30, 60, and even 100 times as much as was sown. So I don't know about you, but I've been asking the Lord for decades. I want a 100 times what I have sown. I don't want to settle for seed that's been sown on rocky ground. If you got rocky ground in your life, get rid of the rocks. Ask the Lord to show you the rocks and pull them out. If you got weeds in your life, you're more fearful and you're more concerned with the things of this life and this world. Ask the Lord, pull those weeds out of my life. I want good, rich soil so that the seed that comes through me is going to bear much fruit 100-fold. That's what we're looking for in this season. We got to have it in this season, guys. If you got rocky soil in your life, if you've got weeds in your life, you have got to get them out. Because when the conflagration hits, you're not going to be able to stand. You are not going to be able to stand. And this is a season we have to stand in. Remember the talents, okay? Remember the two different parables that the Lord told about the giving of the talents. So how many talents are you gifting back to King Yeshua? What happened to the guys that took their one talent and they put it in the ground? Guys, that's not what we do. That was born out of fear. That guy had nothing but rocks and thorns in his soil, and he stuck the talent in the ground, and he lost it, didn't he? This is not the season to hunker down and hide because of you're afraid of what's coming on the earth. This is a season to rise up in faith, step out in faith. That's what we're being called to do. So note, this is about kingdom principles, not about do's and don'ts, what gets you into heaven or what might keep you out. This is about kingdom principles. Are you advancing his kingdom or your own? Whose kingdom are you advancing? Yours or his? That's very important. What's your positioning? If you're an intercessor, you're a prophetic seer, you're a prophet, are you on the correct watchtower? Are you favoring those coming in, the Tower of Hananel? What does your soil look like? Are you wrestling against flesh and blood or against principalities? Remember, our warfare is against principalities and powers, it's not against flesh and blood. If you are spending your time wrestling with flesh and blood, you are on the wrong watchtower. Get on the right watchtower. The right watchtower is a tower of favor in this season. Okay? It's a tower of multiplication in this season. It is not a tower of walking in a critical spirit. It is not a tower of fear and intimidation. So, what is the purpose of prophecy? And I've taught this before, but I think it really bears reiterating again here. 1 Corinthians 14:3 says, "But one who prophesies speaks to men for edification, exhortation, and consolation." Okay? And so a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, edification, that just means to build somebody up." Woohoo. Consolation or comfort, "Oh, we're here to comfort you." And so everybody's like all over those. But then they look at the exhortation and they immediately think that, "Oh, we're supposed to exhort people to quit sinning and start behaving yourselves and line up with what God's saying." So they get a critical judgmental spirit based on 1 Corinthians 14:3. That is not what that word exhort means. The definition, according to Webster's dictionary, and I always use old Webster's dictionary because Webster was a tremendous man of faith, and they've like changed all that stuff. So, but the 1800 dictionary definition of exhort was to encourage, to embolden, to cheer on, to advise. The primary sense here is to excite or give strength, spirit, or courage. So, what you're doing is you are encouraging. So, you're building somebody up, you're encouraging them to press into the fight, and you're bringing consolation or comfort as needed. That's the purpose of prophecy. If that's not what's coming out of your mouth when you prophesy over somebody, you need to check your own life, your own lenses, clean them off, get rid of that spirit of judgment and condemnation that doesn't come from God, that comes from the enemy. He is the one who steals, kills, and destroys. He is the accuser of the brethren. So, Complete Jewish Version puts it this way: "But someone prophesying is speaking to people, edifying, encouraging, and comforting." That's how we're to be. Never judge or condemn. So if you have a heart to see people set free, are you processing them through deliverance, loving on them, helping them get cleaned up? If you have an apostolic heart, are you activating them in their calling, even if you know they're going to leave you? Multiplication is a good thing. Send them out. Expect the Lord to bring you 100 more to train up. That's what I'm believing God for. For every person that we clean up and we train up and we raise up, and they decide that they need to go somewhere else to minister, we just bless them and send them on. And then we believe God, send us 100 more that we can clean up and raise up and train up. Bring them in, Lord, 100 more. So if the sheep don't know what they need to know, are you teaching them? Do you get the picture? That's our purpose in raising and training people up. That's what building the sheep gate is all about. And I know Apostle Ren taught about building the sheep gate not too long ago. That's the season we're in. We have got to build our sheep gate up, guys, because when the fish gate opens, we're going to get flooded. And we're going to get flooded with a ton of fish that need a lot of cleaning. And I don't know if you've ever had to clean a pile of fish, but it's a lot of hard work, and it's stinky and it's gooey and it's messy. So get prepared for stinky, gooey, and messy. Okay? Because it's coming. So because when the sheep gate's built, then comes the fish gate. Nehemiah 3:3 says, "The sons of Sen'ah," which means prickly, interestingly enough, rebuilt the fish gate. This indicates that the evangelist going out with great boldness to be fishers of men. The evangelists are being raised up already, and many of them are already going out and they're starting to stir the waters. Okay. Prickly denotes a piercing, like a two-edged sword of the word. Peter's first sermon pricked the hearts of those listening, and 3,000 came into the church that day based upon what Peter was preaching. Okay? So we've got a piercing going on. Remember, the word of God, when it goes forth, is a two-edged sword, dividing asunder soul and spirit and joint and marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intents of the heart. When the evangelists go out, they're going to pierce people's hearts and souls with the word of God, and the fish gate's going to get open. And when the fish gate opens, they're going to come flooding in. Are we ready? I believe with my heart of hearts that Yeshua is waiting to open that fish gate until we get that sheep gate built. That's what I believe. So I want to skip ahead just a little bit to the dung gate because it's critical to the season we're in right now. And then in later teachings, I'll go back to some of the others. Nehemiah 3:14 says, Malchiah, which means the king of Yah, the son of Rechav, which means the rider, leader of the district of Bit Hakarim, which means house of the vineyard, repaired the dung gate. And you're going, okay, that's a mouthful. All right, that's out of the complete Jewish version, those words. So Psalm 68:33 says, to him who rides on the highest heavens, which are from ancient times, behold, he speaks forth with his voice, a mighty voice. So who is this ancient one that rides on the highest heavens? That's Rechav, the rider. Who's the king of Yah? The king of Yah, the son of Rechav, is Yeshua Messiah. So Yeshua Messiah, the son of who rides, if we want to interpret this in modern language, the king of Yah, Yeshua, the son of the one who rides on the highest heavens, leader of the house of the vineyard, which is who? Us, right? Aren't we not branches that are plugged into the vine? Though we get the flow of our spirit of life comes from the branch into the vines. Don't the vines bear fruit? Aren't we supposed to be laden with fruit people can just pluck off of us, right? So we are in the vineyard. We are the vineyard. He is the leader of the vineyard. So he's the one who's going to repair the dung gate. He's going to redeem the lowest of the low. So Yeshua, the son of the rider, leader of our vineyard that we are, is going to repair the dung gate. Isn't that interesting? Because so many of us, we won't go to the dung gates of life. A few do, but most of us don't want to go to the dung gates. And so he's going to the dung gates, and he's going to start wooing and drawing these in. We're already seeing that in our new church building that we built in a not very nice neighborhood. People are walking in off the street, packing all kind of demons, and we're casting them out by the power of Jesus. We're processing them through salvation. We're making sure that they get plugged in to the house so they can be raised up and trained up and receive the healing that they have need of. Yeshua Messiah is going out, and he's going to the dung gate, and he's going to the highways and byways, because those for whom the supper, the wedding supper, was prepared are too busy to come in. So he's going out there and he's going, okay, you guys are too busy? Fine. Get on about your business. I'm going to compel these to come in. And they're coming in and we're receiving them. Is your house receiving them? You have to ask yourself that, because they are going to be coming in. This is very important, because these are not dung like the enemy would tell them, but these are treasures in earthen vessels who live at the dung gate. They are so important to his heart. He's going to bring them in. He's going to woo and draw them so we can be positioned to set them free. Then they are no longer dung, but they are sheep. So we have to look at them through his eyes, through his lens, say, future sheep, future ministers of the gospel of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, come in. So what the Lord is saying in all this is those who are in ministry, not just fivefold ministry, meaning the high priest, but everyone that's in the house must repair the sheep gate now. No more butt sitting. The fish gate is about to open. Yeshua is waiting to open the fish gate, I believe, with everything within me, because the sheep gate isn't repaired yet. Okay? I want you to see this, guys. We are out of the settler season and in the pioneer season. So if you're comfortable in your cushy churchy thing, you better get out of that thing and flee that like a scalded dog. No more settlers, pioneers. So on 222:22, it's interesting. I read Give Him 15 every day. That's put out by Apostle Dutch Sheets. If you don't have the Give Him 15 app, get it on your phone. It's phenomenal. So here's an excerpt from 222:22. The church should have been leading America back to our foundations, but Christians seem to have lost their connection to a pioneer spirit. Deep within the DNA of every believer is the spirit of Messiah, the pioneer of all pioneers. Didn't he shake up the religious world big time? Yes, he did. That's what pioneers do. But this nature has been lost in the wilderness of conformity, religion, and compromise. God, however, is issuing a fresh and powerful invitation to believers. Leave behind the safety and boredom of tame, anemic religion. I'm going to repeat that line again because it's important. Leave behind the safety and boredom of tame, anemic religion. Abandon the shallow life lived by the all too common narcissistic Christian in America. Overcome the fear of death, loss, and the unknown. Follow him back to what he birthed 2,000 years ago. Radical, world-changing, miracle-working, fearless, love not your lives unto death, passionate, warrior-hearted pioneers. That's who we're called to be. This is what's going to rebuild the sheep gate. So when Yeshua Messiah opens the fish gate and they come flooding in, note not once, but twice Peter's nets were filled to the breaking point. What did Yeshua tell him? I'm going to make you a fisher of men. I'm going to overflow your nets so much that they're going to be at the point of breaking. Okay? They're going to come flooding in. And when he repairs the dung gate, those will come flooding in. This time it has to be different. This time, we're not going to lose anyone unless they choose to walk away, not because we're not equipped and the sheep gate is burnt down and the wall has been broken down around it. The enemy's not going to come in because we're not positioned. So the only ones we lose are the ones that are going to choose to walk out the sheep gate and say, don't want any more of that. So guys, I realize that some of these words have been tough, but we're in a tough season. This is the time, this is the place, and this is the season where we are supposed to rise to the occasion, strap on our armor, and go after those fish, go after those dung, go after those people that the enemy says, you're trash, you're nothing, you're not going to amount to anything, and watch and see what the Spirit of the living God is going to do to transform lives. So I just want to thank you guys. I just bless you for watching this. Welcome, Dorfe, to the live. Yay. And you guys just get ready. Get ready, get ready, get ready, because stuff is getting ready to come, and we need to be properly positioned so that we can handle whatever is thrown at us, whether it's from the Lord or from the enemy. We have to have the wisdom and discernment to see where it's coming from, so we know what to do with it. So, Father God, I just lift these up before you. I thank you and praise you for all those who are watching now and those who are going to be watching later. And I just release the Aaronic blessing over all of these in the name of Yeshua. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift up his countenance to you and give you his shalom in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. I will see all of you guys next week at 3 o'clock on Thursday.